Awesome. Okay, so I think we have everyone in that was in the waiting room. Victoria, if you wanted to get started and maybe introduce our event for today.
For sure. All right, thank you everyone for joining us and good morning. Hope you guys everyone had a good morning today. My name is Victoria Berry and it is my privilege and pleasure to as the outreach worker for the Center for Grief and Healing to welcome everyone here today. Our team is absolutely delighted to have you virtually here with us to participate and share in our 23rd annual Walk to Remember event. Thank you again for joining us today. Although we are unable to physically gather together, know that we are still here to support one another during this time. And we hope that today brings you comfort and courage to face the days ahead while still remembering and honoring your loved ones. As some of you may be aware, but for those of you who don't know and who are new to the organization, our Walk to Remember this year looks a little bit different. And please bear with us if we are faced with technical difficulties. This is our first time doing an event through Zoom. So this event typically entails our silent auctions, a walk alongside the Credit River, yoga plus more, but more importantly, our memorialization piece. So this year we had planned to plant trees in honor of our loved ones. However, given current circumstances set in place, we were unable to carry out said plans this year. With this being said, we have tried to maintain as much normalcy as possible for everyone with the great addition of our special guest speaker, Haley Patry. Both Haley and Julia, our youth program coordinator, will be answering some live Q&A questions with us today as we go on our walks. This will be followed by a poem reading, a guided meditation, a moment of silence, followed by another poem reading. Please feel free to unmute yourself after the Q&A to share any questions you have or post them in the chat box, and we will try our absolute best to get them all answered. Also joining us today, we have Richard Shepard, Chairperson, and Andrea O'Reilly, our Executive Director, alongside our board members and volunteers. Without this fantastic team of individuals, our organization could not continue to thrive and flourish. With this being said, please join me in welcoming Richard Shepard, who would like to share a few words with us all.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us during this time. We tried to do something different this year. Congrats to Julia, Victoria, and Andrea for trying to pull this together. This is one of the questions the board had. Even during these difficult times, we wanted to try to provide an opportunity for people to get together and simulate the walk as much as possible, but more importantly, just be together. So I think that's going to be an interesting morning this morning, and look forward to it. And hopefully, you can utilize this just like everybody else to remember those that we've lost and how our lives have changed and how we're continuing to work together and heal. I did want to take a few minutes just to say thank you to the board and the events committee, particularly Ashley Pereira, Mark Mateo, Melissa Gust, and Iris Dinsa. That would be great. Appreciate it. Again, Julia and Victoria and Andrew have done a great job. I want to thank them for all their continued hard work. The charity is still open, and we're trying to help people during these difficult times. And I'll pass it back to Victoria. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Richard. We're so very honored to have Haley Patry, founder of The Lifted Lid, with us here today. Haley is a true happiness trainer and has supported thousands and thousands of individuals in finding significant happiness and fulfillment fast. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to both Haley and Julia as they kick off our live Q&A today.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us in this first of a kind Walk to Remember done virtually. It's such an honor to be with you today. Hi, Julia.
Hi, Haley. We just want to thank you again so much for joining us today and being part of our event. Like Victoria said, this isn't our traditional way of running this, so thank you everyone for participating and being a part of it and testing this out for the first time with us. So just to get started, Haley, my first question that we have for you today is if you could just introduce yourself, your own story with loss, and just let us get to know you a little bit better.
Thank you so much. So my name's Haley. I live here in Oakville, and I will be going on a real walk later today, and I will be placing rocks for every single one of you. Depending on the number of people that you're remembering, I will remember your loved ones with you today. My story with loss also is associated with trauma. I grew up in a very challenged childhood, battled 8 years of depression and anorexia, and I'm a survivor of 2 childhood suicide attempts. Given the traumas that I went through, I lost many people around me who weren't as fortunate as I was. I lost many friends due to anorexia. I lost many friends due to suicide. My father lost his dad right when I was born. And in my practice of supporting clients through grief, trauma, and loss, it's something I surround myself with every day. And my heart just remains tremendously open to whatever type of loss you have faced. I feel because I was given a third chance to be here and have come very close to leaving this world myself many times, that it's part of my life purpose to bring more joy and help survivors of loss to make wonderful lives, not in spite of what you've gone through, but because of what you've gone through. And it's such a pleasure to be here with you today and give you permission to claim happiness again, no matter how recent your loss has been.
Thank you so much, Haley, for sharing that and for being so open with everyone and being able to share your own story. That's really, thank you for that. So what we did is we kind of asked our audience what they wanted to hear from you and questions that they had. So one of our first questions that we had from a participant, from Michael, who asked us this question on Facebook, he asked, I used to visit the cemetery almost every day as a way to cope with my loss and feel close to my wife. How else can I feel connected to her when I'm stuck at home?
Michael, that's such a beautiful question. Thank you for honoring your wife's memory and being so committed to it. There are 4 things that we can all do when there is someone or multiple people that we miss badly. And I'm going to say them slowly so that you have the opportunity to write them down. The first is to make a list of anything they started in their life, but they did not get to complete. For one of my clients right now, that's a high school education. You know, the son that she's grieving, he started high school, he was close to graduating, he didn't finish, and so that's something that she's excited to finish her own in tribute to him. The second list is to make a list of things, Michael, that your wife wanted to start and never got to. Things that she might have put on her bucket list before she knew she needed one. The third is to list all the things that she loved. They could be the very small rituals that were part of her morning or evening routine. They could be around the foods that she ate or movies that she liked to watch, music she liked to listen to. And my encouragement to you, Michael, and to all of us here is to choose one daily connector that helps you feel like you are experiencing this tribute or legacy to your loved one, to the person that you're remembering. But only do this daily connector activity if it sparks joy for you. If it brings on tremendous sadness, if it is retriggering of the grief itself, then we haven't found the right daily connector. One of my clients has decided, Michael, that every day she does one thing to honor her 17-year-old who hasn't been with her since this December. On one day, she makes and eats his favorite breakfast because she loves it too. On one day, she does a spontaneous dance party listening to his favorite rap music. On one day, she puts on something to do with Michael Jordan to commemorate her son's favorite athlete. So for you and your wife, Michael, think of, is there something you could do every day, even during the pandemic, that reminds you of her, has her smiling down at you, but at the same time, it makes you smile. It might be a mixed blessing of smile and tears, but it's so important that the activity produces joy for you. Does that help?
Oh, that's wonderful, Haley. That's such a great option for people that can't do their normal routine, right? And can't go out and do the things they used to do, right? So something that everyone can do from home. And what a wonderful way to
other
connect
way.
with you. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and one other suggestion for you, Michael, and for everyone else who's in a similar situation, walk their walks. So right now with the pandemic, you are allowed to get out onto all of the public trails. The conservation authorities are allowing you to book appointments. See if you can drive any of their commutes, walk any of their walks. So if there is a particular place, path, or route that your wife took on a regular basis, you can take that route as a commemoration for her, if, again, it brings you joy to be there and feel a closer connection to her.
Wonderful. Thank you, Haley. That's wonderful. That's a great suggestion for people who are struggling with that. The next question that we have is from Jennifer from our Instagram account. And she says, I'm struggling with putting my grief first. I recently lost my husband and I am trying to focus on my kids and their grief, but I feel like I'm putting myself on the back burner. How do I focus on my own grief without feeling guilty?
That's such an amazing question, Jennifer. My heart is with you, and I am so sorry for what you have gone through, compounded with the need to step into being super mom. I am with you and thinking of you. The first thing, Jennifer, is to remember, and I'm sure all of us, whether we have young children or whether we have elders we care for, pets we care for, financial burdens that we care for, often and almost always, we put ourselves last, and we have to remember the example from the airplane when the flight attendant team tells us to put our own oxygen mask on first. I know as a mother with 3 little kids, for years, I was in disbelief of that message, and I thought, no, I'm going to put it on the children first, of course. And then I realized just how silly it would be if the children thrived and didn't have me to look after them. So Jennifer, you are an amazing mom, but one of the most loving and profound things you can do for the kids is to teach them about the 6 phases of grief. As they watch you go through them, they'll feel permission to go through the stages for themselves. And as a sidebar to grief, we need so much more self-care, so much more self-love, so much bigger of a support network to get through it. And I just wanted to share with you, Jennifer, quickly the 6 stages of grief that I look at, because I think you might be between 3 and 4. In the first phase, we're in shock and we think that it shouldn't be this way. What happened shouldn't have happened. In the second phase, you start to accept that it has happened and it had to happen, but you don't know why, and you're searching for that meaning. In the third phase, which is probably where you are right now, you have a strong desire to survive this, to keep your kids' life as healthy and normal as you possibly can and be the best mom you can be. And I can tell you're doing an amazing job of that. But it's in the fourth step where you really start to matter. That's where you desire to thrive and make your lives wonderful again, not just to get through it, but to actually thrive through it. In the fifth step, you get to design your new normal, or shall we say your new abnormal. And by the sixth step, you might just find that you like your new normal. You might even find that you love it. So Jennifer, for you, if you've been waiting to find your permission button, to put yourself on your schedule, to know how much you matter, to know how much your kids will be okay with you taking that time for you, you don't need my permission, but I'm pushing a big permission button for you and saying, it's time for you to make that space for yourself. Some of my clients will find that if they wake up 30 minutes before the kids, they have this little window of sacred time where you can grieve out loud, grieve big, and do some of the care that you need to in case you don't want to do that in front of the kids. COVID-19 has popped up some additional challenges, whereas normally I would advise you to just get a babysitter for a few hours, call in a support person so we could grieve big, heavy, loud, and move it through your body. But you matter so much, Jennifer. And while you are caring about your kids' grief, if they watch you seem fine, they'll think they need to be fine. If they watch you not care about yourself and have your own health fade, they'll think that that's what's supposed to happen for them too. So part of you being the amazing mom you are, it's time to show them how Mama Bear takes care of herself, because they're learning by watching. Julia, do you have any thoughts to add on how to help moms put themselves, and not just moms, but all parents, put themselves as deserving for some time?
I think what you said in the point of being that role model, or you're not going to be able to help someone else unless you're also helping yourself, right? You're going to drain yourself of all your energy, all your ability to be that support system for your children, right? So the way I like to look at it is, by helping yourself, you are helping your kids. You're doing them a disservice when you don't give yourself time to grieve and that opportunity to love yourself, right? Because like you said, Haley, you're that model for them. You're modeling what grief looks like, how later on in life, when they experience another loss, they're going to think back of how Jennifer handled it and how you handled it in that moment, right? So modeling grief for them is so important, especially when they're very young. But
and
like
you can't
said,
pour from an empty cup, right? We as parents, we always feel like we have to put ourselves last, be there for the kids, be at their beck and call, totally support them, never occur as weak, not let them know how fractured we are, not let them know how sad we are, or how scared we are, or how angry we are. But yes, as you also mentioned, Julia, the more we model that all emotions are healthy emotions, that we are allowed to have them, we're allowed to express them, it's the best thing we can do, is to then, Jennifer, go back and share with your kids how you felt, how it was when you released it, what supports or methods you use to help you through it. It's such beautiful role modeling. And in your question, you said, how do you focus on your own grief without feeling guilty? When we apply guilt and we feel bad or wrong for something, we just need to shift the context. So if being a good mother or woman has ever meant to you that you don't matter, play small, go last, or that everyone else's needs come first, it's time to shift that story, paradigm, and belief that a good mother takes care of herself in the best possible way, so she is that fully charged up battery to then go and energize her kids. And I am with you, Jennifer. I send a lot of love to you and your children at this time, and they are going to love you through your grief. You might even see your kids step up into a new way of showing empathy by you being willing to go through your grief in front of them.
Absolutely. To kind of add on to that, what piece of encouragement would you maybe have for people who are currently grieving in isolation and during these unprecedented times?
It's so different now, it really is. And we keep talking about going back to normal, but they think the hashtag is going back to the new abnormal. At this time and always, whether you're grieving the loss of a loved one or any other traumatic experience in your life, I recommend scheduling your life with your happiness, mental health, and yourself as a priority. And so, Julia, this is the order that I do my schedule in, and I recommend it for to answer this question. The first thing to put on your schedule is you. Time to nourish your vessel. So preparing your healthy food, any therapy or counseling or support groups you're part of, for not just the 5-minute rush shower, but a really wonderful cleansing experience, whether that's a bath with Epsom salt or a nice hot shower. Time to stretch or exercise, meditate or journal. If you put yourself on your calendar first, you're going to be a better version of you for everything else. Second thing to put on your calendar is your sense of connection. So that might be calls with friends, family, loved ones, your community, religious affiliation, or this organization. It's so important that you feel connection. Isolation is the worst accompaniment to grief. The third thing to put on your calendar as a suggestion if you're currently grieving is joy. Yes, I know it seems inappropriate to even want to feel pleasure, joy, or happiness when there's so much to be sad about, but your joy and your happiness matters. And right now, you might feel safer to have joy activities, as we mentioned earlier, that are a legacy for or are in tribute to the person that you are missing. Do something every day that lit them up that also could light you up. Something that is either delicious or pleasurable for any of your 5 senses to go through. The fourth thing to put on your schedule is what you do for meaning, purpose, or financial sustenance. And the fifth thing is the administration of life. And that's chores, banking, to-dos, all of that. The trouble is, Julia, most of us, the first thing that goes on our schedule, well, it's nothing. We take all the incoming demands, or if we schedule anything, we schedule the admin of life. We schedule when we're supposed to do what for everybody else. And if we don't make time for ourselves, there just won't be any. The other thing I would say for those who are grieving at this time, especially if your grief is recent, is to understand that the power of Zoom might be 1/10 the power of a human hug and a real meeting. So if it used to be enough to talk to or visit one person every couple days for coffee, it's okay. You're going to need a lot more than that right now. So while Zoom calls are wonderful and virtual chats are great, they don't have the same impact as that big, deep bear hug you can get from a close friend. So go ahead and give yourself permission to just book more support sessions, more connection sessions, because you deserve it, you matter, and it's going to help you get through this time.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more, Haley. I think it's so important during this time to have those supports. And that kind of leads us into my next question from Kelly from Facebook. And she asks that being in isolation has made my grief much worse. And I feel like I'm losing all aspects of my old life. How do I get back to who I used to be?
I love your question, Kelly, and please forgive me, you might not love my answer. The life that you used to have and whoever it is that you're remembering today, the hardest way to grieve is to try to get back that life that we can't get back. The healthiest thing to do right now, both over your grief as well as with the pandemic, is to design who you want to become now and ongoingly. Rather than trying to get back to who you used to be, let's figure out who you now want to be and put in those habits on a daily basis and those supports around you on a daily basis that help you become the next best version of Kelly. I'm going to use a non-grief related example. I used to weigh a certain number when I didn't have 3 kids. And I used to weigh a different number after I had my first child before I had 2 more. And if I was spending every day trying to become the old Haley, that wouldn't be very healthy for my body image, nor would it be likely. Instead, I focus my health goals on the healthy mom version of me that I'm working on becoming. And so when you orient your brain in forward motion to create something new that is more fun, healthier, and more likely to achieve than trying to look back in the rear view mirror. So Kelly, I would be excited to hear from you what aspects of your old life weren't even serving you that you might not want to bring forth into your new life. And for the aspects of your old life that you do miss, how can we put them into your life in an even better way as things go forward? But being in isolation is truly difficult and it poses unique challenges for everyone. And so, Julia, what are you hearing as a general consensus from your amazing clients and members of the center? What are some unique things people are doing to overcome isolation?
Absolutely. It's very different now because a lot of people's routines, what used to be huge supports for them, aren't necessarily available anymore. So, like you said, involving yourself in more online supports, right? So joining support groups that are online, accessing counseling that's online, joining support groups on Facebook or whatever it might be, and then trying to incorporate, like you said, some of your daily routine that is still accessible into your life. So if you used to be a very active person and now let's say your gym is closed, trying to incorporate a walk a day that gets you outside, gets you some fresh air, makes you feel some sort of, let's say, normal, right? And gives you that sense of routine. So just finding different little things that you're still able to do that help you feel like you have a sense of routine. It's going to look different, like you said, especially after you've lost someone. I completely agree with you. There is that it's like starting a new chapter of your life. Once that person's passed away, it's before that person passed away, that's one life. And after that person's passed away, that's a different life and a different version of
And
you.
sometimes there's this mixed, strange blessing with loss, which is life before loss may have been on autopilot. Things were in the schedule that didn't necessarily need to stay there anymore. Things were in your life that maybe weren't the most important or weren't in the most alignment of your goals. And after loss, we get to come back and not just loss, but during the pandemic, where all of the retail shopping's been stripped away, social outings, traveling, we're now at this blank canvas state where most of us have more disposable hours in a day that we used to fill with other things. You get to redesign, what do you want to fill that time with? And while some activities can morph nicely from pre-pandemic to now, and they might return to a semblance of normal after, this is a great time to choose new interests. It could be learning a new language, learning how to make sushi from home, learning how to do DIY projects in your place, or picking up gardening, growing your own herbs and vegetables. I'm finding a lot of my clients whose joy has recovered during this pandemic period, they've brought new things into their life. Rather than replacing the old, they've actually just brought new things in their life, and they're finding new sides of themselves that they didn't even know they had.
Absolutely. I love that. I really do. It gives people an opportunity to, like you said, find new joy, right? Different things that you might have never had the time to try or opportunities to try. And now you can do that, and it does make such an impact on people's grief, on people's mental health, and all of that. Just finding little bits of joy that you can incorporate into your day. Absolutely. So my last question for you, Haley, before we open it up to the floor and give everyone here an opportunity to ask their own questions. I know you did touch on this a little bit before, but maybe you can expand more on how we can practice self-love during times of grief, because I think that's something that a lot of grievers often put on the back burner, right? Or we either feel guilty about loving ourselves, we're so preoccupied with so many other things that doesn't become a priority. So how can we make that a priority, and what can we do to practice it?
I'm going to share some steps, but I also want to share a solemn reminder. The person that you miss, what they would like the least is to see your life degrade since they've been gone. And what they would want to see the most, whatever your spiritual or religious beliefs are, and wherever you believe they are, I'll just use up as an example. The thing that would make your lost loved one the most happy is to see you take good care of yourself, to be okay, to know that the mark they've left on your life is a positive one filled with beautiful memories, and that you are recovering from this, and that you're nourishing yourself with good rest, good food, good care, and becoming the best version of yourself you can be. That is the number one way that we can honor someone's memory, is to thrive after losing them. And it sounds so strange, but Julia, the easiest way to practice self-love during any time, but especially grief, is to ritualize it. Come up with a ritual way that you are kind to yourself. So it's easy to set up a morning ritual, an evening ritual, and an afternoon break if that will support you. Most of my clients have a defined time in their calendar where they practice their self-care, self-love, self-healing, all of those things in the morning before they start the grind of their day. They have a ritual they practice in the evening, and depending on their stage of grief and their mental health at this time, we'll also program in sometimes a mid-morning self-care break and a mid-afternoon break. If you have scheduled it for yourself because it's an appointment you have with your wellness, it's an appointment you have with yourself, and it is a priority and it's ritualized, now you don't have to be a martyr to the rest of the world. When other people call on you, need you, bug you, want you for something, you can say to them, I'm sorry, I have a commitment at that time. And it's really none of their business that your commitment is your self-care. But the more serious wording you apply to your self-care rituals, it'll feel like something tangible in your day that you just do every day. Like it's non-negotiable, because your wellness is non-negotiable.
Absolutely. I love that so much, Haley. And something that stuck with me that you said, so we actually had Haley be our guest speaker for one of our grief talks a few weeks back. And something you said has just stuck with me since then. And it was that you don't set a goal for yourself, right? You set a promise. So you wouldn't say, my goal is to do this. You promise yourself that. And that was so impactful for me, because like you said, it makes it so much more concrete, and that I feel like I'm actually going to stick to that because that's a promise I made to myself. Whereas the goal, I feel like it's like, well, I'll try to reach that goal, as opposed to promising yourself. So that language, I think, is really important too.
And if you are a parent right now and you have children, like some of the people that sent in questions, thinking of you, Jennifer, one of the promises I make to my own kids, I've had quite a lot of health issues. They've seen me whisked off in ambulances. And the promise I make to my kids is to take the best care of my vessel every single day. I can't control what will happen or won't happen, but I can control my own actions, my commitment, my follow through with them, my regularity with them. And I promise my kids I move my body every day. I drink my 70 ounces of water. I drink organic alkaline coffee. I put the best nutrition in me. I meditate every evening. I do affirmations every morning. And I promise my kids that I will keep my mind as sharply tuned and well as I can, my body as sharply tuned and well as I can, because they deserve to have me there for them if I'm able to be there for them. And so each of us, we need to make a covenant with ourselves to first know you matter. You are precious, especially if you're the last one here for yourself, your children, your partner, your parents, your company. When we go through loss, the number of great people in the world gets diminished. So we don't have less of a reason to care for ourselves. We have more of a reason to care for ourselves. We've got to shine our light, especially if you want to honor that star that you're missing. You got to infuse yourself with all the goodness because you deserve it.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more, Haley. Thank you so much for answering all these questions and sharing with us all of your incredible knowledge and experience. You really, I wish I could have you in my back pocket to just encourage me all the time during my daily life, because you're just so inspirational. So thank you so much for that. I do want to give an opportunity for anyone here to ask a question. If you had a question for Haley that was on your mind, you can feel free to either type it in the chat or just unmute yourself and ask the question. So if you have anything, let me know. Andrea, did you have something?
I think Victoria's just unmuting me.
Oh, you're good. You're unmuted.
Okay. I did. I've just gone blank. Yeah, I think that, Haley, as always, your insight and your wisdom is so appreciated and so inspirational. Every time I hear you speak, I get something new out of it. So I just want to thank you. And maybe if you could just leave us with some words of wisdom to go on our day, that would be fantastic. What your maybe one assignment for us is today.
I'd like to leave you with a concept and a thought, and that is the question. Has what you've gone through, specifically your grief, has it happened to you to make you or to break you? And I want you to really consider that question for a moment. I believe that all adversity comes into our life not to us, but for us, and it comes into our life to make us and not to break us. The moment that you can embrace that for yourself and call it like your own truth, that what you've gone through, and horrible and sad and painful in all the ways that it is, what if it's in your life to make you a brand new version of yourself, make you a brand new contributor in your community, make you an inspiration for others who are about to go through what you've already been treading through? What if it was there to make you? You get to be the boss of what you want to make yourself into. And if we can use trauma, loss, grief, like the knife that chiseled the sculpture of David, if you're becoming your finest work of art right now, what do you want to become? If you're raising children or caring for adults, what messages do you want to give to them? And if you haven't taken on a passion or purpose project in your life yet, now's a great time, so that when you tell your grief story a year from now and 5 years from now, yes, there will be tears honoring the memories of the person you wish you could still hug, but more than the tears, there'll be all the amazing news you get to share of who you've become, who you've helped, and what you've created in your life and the community and the world since. So I invite all of you to embrace that concept. Don't even think of the question of, is it here to break you or make you? Just consider taking on the truth. What you've gone through is here to make you, and it's up to you what you want to make of yourself.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much, Haley. Before we move on to our poem reading, did anyone else have a question or anything for Haley? Again, you can feel free to type it or just say it out loud. Okay, well, if anything does come to anyone's mind, you can just put it in the chat box, and at the end of the event today, we'll come back to you, okay? So I'm gonna move it on to, I think it's Andrea, are you reading the poem? Perfect. All right, it's all you.
Okay, so as part of our Memorial Walk to Remember event, we always try to incorporate poetry, and hopefully this one is well chosen. So this is called Some Days, and it is an anonymous author. They tell me life's a journey that will take me many years. Some days are filled with laughter, and some days are filled with tears. Some days I think my heart will break, that I can't persevere. Some days I have to don a mask and hide neath its veneer. Some days I turn and look for you with thoughts I'd like to share. Some days I just can't understand the reason you're not there. Some days the sadness leaves me and my smile will reappear. Some days I close my eyes because your memory is so clear. Some days I struggle to go on just wishing you were near. But most days I spend in gratitude that you were ever here. So at this point in our event, I'd like to introduce Alex to take us through a guided meditation, which I'm really looking forward to. So thanks, Alex.
Thank you so much. I want to thank everyone for having me here today. It's been a pleasure to be part of this experience. I've learned so much. So today I'm going to guide you all through a meditation that incorporates some breathing exercises. It's essentially designed to bring you into the present moment, to clear your mind, relax your mind, and hopefully carry on through the rest of your day with a sense of peace and grounding. So if you could all find a comfortable seat, just rest your arms gently in your lap. Try and have a straight back, but not too rigid. And gently close your eyes. We'll start by breathing in deeply and slowly through the nose. Pause at the top of your breath, and then breathe out through your mouth. We'll breathe in again deeply and slowly through the nose. Pause, and then breathe all the air out slowly through the mouth. Breathe in. Pause, and breathe out. Now continue to breathe normally, slow and natural. Try not to force the breath, but let it find its own rhythm. This exercise brings you comfortably into the present moment. I want you to try and bring awareness to your breath as it flows into your nostrils and back out again. There is no need to follow the breath any further than that. Just become aware of it entering and leaving your nostrils. Become aware of the sensations around your nostrils and just relax into this experience. Keep gently breathing, letting the breath occur naturally. And feel your breathing become calm, slow, easy. Now, as your relaxation becomes deeper and deeper, I invite you to count your in-breaths as they flow gently in through the nose. Now stop counting your in-breaths and start to count your exhales. Now just gently keep your awareness on your breath as it flows in and out through your nose. There's no need to count the breaths, just become aware of each one. Notice how calm and relaxed you are now, how regular your breathing has become, how peaceful your breathing is. In a moment, I invite you to gently open your eyes and slowly bring yourself back to the present moment, moving forward in your day with a sense of calm and relaxation. Thank you all so much for meditating with me today. I hope that was a positive experience for you. And again, thank you for including me in this event today. It's been really beautiful.
Thank you so much, Alex.
You're
That was
welcome.
awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Alex. Meditation and mindfulness can be so helpful in not only getting back to sleep, but managing our physical symptoms of grief like headaches, muscle tension, and it just cultivates a sense of connection with the people in our lives as well. We'll now be going into a moment of silence, so please feel free to light a candle, close your eyes, turn your camera off, do whatever feels comfortable and right for you in this moment to remember and treasure your loved ones. Though we need to weep your loss, you dwell in that safe place in our hearts, where no storm or night or pain can reach you. Let us not look for you only in memory, where we would grow lonely without you. You would want us to find you in presence, beside us when beauty brightens, when kindness glows, and music echoes eternal tones. You may open your eyes, turn your camera screens back on, bring yourself to the present moment. I believe Andrea would like to share a few words with us all.
Yeah, I just want to check back in before we close today's.
Yeah.
Were there any other questions for Haley or any of us in the chat box? Oh, that was beautiful. So on behalf of Julia, Victoria, Richard, the board, and the events committee, I want to extend a heartfelt thank you to Haley for joining us today and for answering the tough questions that we all face, and to all of you for bravely showing up. Thank you especially to Alex as well for navigating us through that guided meditation. Our organization has been commemorating our loved ones for the past 23 years by hosting this annual Walk to Remember. As you go about the rest of your Saturday, I wanted to leave you with these wise words from the Dalai Lama. Today is your opportunity to make your tomorrow better. If you think of it from the point that your today is the result of your yesterdays, it's clear that what you are doing today is either moving you forward or moving you backward. That's why you want to grab today by the horns and make the most of it as you can. Do that enough times and you'll start to see signs that your todays are getting better, which only sets you up better and better for tomorrow. You can find yourself a negative or positive spiral based on how well you are spending your days. So our hope for you today is that our event has set you up for a better tomorrow and that you will put joy on your calendar today. Thank you, everyone.
And I just want to share one final word. If I could give a voice to the person whose memory you're holding today, they would say this to you: the best way to remember me is to remember you. Please take care of yourselves. You're all so precious, so important, and so worth it. And I wish you joy as you go through your journey. Thank you for having me today, ladies. Thank you.
Thank you, Haley.
Thanks, everyone.